What's good, Creative Fam? Brandon Washington here, and okay, I think I got this live thing figured out. I'm still working with it, so please don't be too brutal down in the comments. Most of y'all been showing love, appreciating it, so I appreciate y'all being patient with me while I try to figure this whole thing out. So last week when I did this live stream deal, I shot the whole thing using my 1DX Mark II, and I had it rolling through. Everything was working fine. Then it kept crashing. And honestly, I think a lot of the crashes have to do with the fact that this thing was like kind of struggling a little bit, which I noticed right now I'm kind of going in and out of focus. But this thing was struggling with as much data as it puts out. So now I'm actually switched over and I'm shooting the whole thing on the Sony a7 III. So we'll see how this whole thing works. I'm actually using a new lens that I picked up. I know I talked to y'all a little bit about what I was planning on doing. I'll make a whole video about it later, but I'm shooting this on the Tamron 28-75. Why I decided to pick that one up. But yeah, everything looks to be going through smoothly right now. I just happened to look over and notice that now it's buffering again, which makes no sense. But hopefully we can make this thing work. Worst case scenario, we'll hop over on Instagram. I know that works, and we can kind of make it live. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, at the end of the day, the whole point of me going live and talking to you guys is really just to have that communication with you guys so I can tell y'all some of the stuff I can't cover in, a 10-minute long YouTube video. This allows us to kind of go into a little bit more detail, answer some exact questions that you guys have for me. And so that's the whole point of going live. So this week, my buddy Sticks was supposed to plan to. I'm trying to say too much at once. He was supposed to come out and help me out with this live stream, but he got caught up in some other projects, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to run this live stream by myself, but I think we'll still be able to answer all your questions. Look into the comments. I've got 2 monitors up right now. As y'all can see, I've got lights galore up in here. Still trying to figure out this whole live set. So still trying to figure out the whole deal with it, but nonetheless, in this video, we're talking about how to become a professional creator and make a living at it. Like, not just someone who makes, a couple $100 a week, but like how to actually make like a long-term, like actual livable wage by doing this. And I mean creating in all sense, whether that's photography or video, or if you have something else you want to do on the side. I know I made a video about this a little while ago, but there were a lot of really great questions, and a lot of you guys have been reaching out, wanting to know more, wanting to know about some of the nitty gritty, some of those details that honestly, I don't think most people will care about seeing in a full video or me breaking down each little bitty thing in a video. So I decided I'd do this live stream, have an open communication with you guys, answer the questions that you guys have. So as you guys are watching this video, go ahead and hop in the comment section, start answering or start asking some questions, because I'm going to be fielding those questions directly through the chat or whatever it is that we have going on. Also, if you do happen to be watching this later on the playback, which I was like crazy surprised that in our last playback, it got like over 500 views. And that video was like mega long with tons of like drops and things like that. So I'm super excited for all those guys who come back and watch it on the playback later. There's probably going to be like 2 or 3 live streams. I'll do my best to delete the wrong ones. But this one here is going to be pretty much jam-packed with all the knowledge, as long as I don't have any mega issues with the live stream. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully everything is looking good, sounding good. The camera is keeping focus. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into how to become a professional creator and make a living. Now, one of the very first things that I always tell people to do when it comes to making a living at being a full-time creator is you need to have a number in mind. And that number has to be very concrete. What I tell most people to do is, 1, write that number down on a board or on a mirror or on your wall or on a sticky note in your car, whatever. Write that number down somewhere that you can see it every single day, because that number is honestly what you need to live by. And I tell people that, whatever that number is for you, get that number down as low as it can be, with your living involved, so that way you can actually make the jump. Because in most people's situations, once you start becoming a full-time creator, it only gets easier, because now you have more time to create. Now you have more time to get clients. Now you have more time for all the other things that will naturally grow your business. But it's typically when you're trying to make that jump from having an existing job to being a full-time creator that it's a little bit difficult, and that it's a little bit, it's kind of hard to make that jump. And so, but if you have a number in mind, how much you need to be making every single month doing, video or photography, then you can kind of make that jump a little bit easier. So once you have that number in mind, figure out how you're going to get to it. The first step is look at what type of jobs you're currently shooting. If you're shooting weddings and your number is, let's say, $2,000 a month, which would be really low, but that's for a lot of like single guys who have like roommates and stuff like that, that's super low, then you need probably one wedding a month to be able to hit that number. And you can easily go out and find one wedding a month and know that that's what you need. But let's say your number is somewhere more like around $6,000 or $8,000 a month. Well, now you got to figure out how many jobs you need to get every single month to be able to sustain that number. And I tell most people, you need to be able to sustain it consistently and set yourself up for success by having at least 3 times that number in savings. Just in case you go through a really, really dry set of months, like a dry quarter, you could not work for 3 months and still be okay. So it is good to kind of have some money backed up, but it all circles around that number and then knowing how many jobs you need to actually get that job or to be able to hit that number. Now, the biggest issue that I typically find after that is, well, how do you then get the clients to be able to get that job? And that's where we're going to get into a lot of nitty gritty. That's where we're going to get into a lot of questions. I see you guys are actually coming through with some questions right now. And so I'm going to hop into the chat really quick, answer some of those questions, and then we'll get into exactly how you go about finding those clients so you can hit that number. So real quick, we're going to hop into the chat. It looks to be going pretty good. We got 44 people in here right now. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all who stuck through all the technical issues at the beginning of this thing. So appreciate that. But let's look at some of the questions that we have coming through. So a lot of them are early on talking about you guys can hear me. I appreciate it. Message coming through. All good. Nice. All right. So our first question that I got here from Arlissa says, how do you get your clients on retainer if you're running social media campaigns? What do you encompass, or what does that encompass? So any client that you want to have on retainer, and I've done quite a few retainers in my creative journey. Now, I'm going to be transparent here and say I don't do retainers anymore. I personally am not a huge fan of them, just because retainers, in my experience, lets the client feel like they kind of own you, because there's this contract in play and they're paying you continuously. And it's not based on the projects. It's just based on time. Like every month they're paying you. So that gets a little bit kind of wonky. But here's what I would say. If you do plan to do a retainer, make sure you know and they know everything that's a part of that retainer. How much deliverables they're going to get. How much they're going to pay for those deliverables, what timeline they're going to have to pay, and what timeline you're going to have to actually deliver each of those things, whether they're social media posts, whether they're videos for social media, no matter what it is. You want to make sure that when it comes to retainers, that every little detail is in writing and that both parties not only sign off on it, but both parties agree and understand and on the same page. There have been plenty of times where I've sent contracts, people read them, they say they read them, they sign them, they send them back to me, and then like a couple days later, they're asking for something that's outside of scope, what's outside of the contract. So make sure that they know exactly what's included and what's excluded from the retainer. So that's kind of the first thing. Now, as far as how do you get your clients to want to hop onto your retainer, well, you have to make it worth their while. I mean, as far as a retainer goes, typically the reason why people want to do a retainer is they can get more for their money, kind of like a bundle deal. So if you normally charge $1,000 a video, but you're going to put your client on retainer, typically now you're offering them the video at maybe $800 or something along those lines. So that's the whole purpose of retainers. How you choose to structure that for yourself, completely up to you. But that's kind of my initial thoughts on retainers. Robin here said, what's good, homie? Just finally ordered the A7 III myself. Dope. I'm shooting this video on the A7 III. So if you think this looks good, you'll like that camera. Do you find you stay busy with more smaller videos? I found that I stay more busy with one, 2 man crews versus a huge crew. So yeah, I personally am a fan of more so smaller 1 to 2 man band type shoots. Typically because they're faster to shoot, they're quicker to edit, and the turnaround is kind of turn and burn, get them over with. When you're normally working with a bigger crew, I mean, you're dealing with a lot more issues. There's more scheduling. It takes more time to get them done. Now, yes, there's more money involved with them typically, but it comes at a, it kind of comes at a catch-22. You're definitely getting more for the job, but you're also having to put more work into it. And in the same time frame, you can ask yourself, how many small jobs could you have done? Or how many big jobs should you be able to do in a month's time if you're having to spend so much time on that work? So my business currently is kind of a nice little balance of both. I do a lot of small jobs that kind of are what I call pay the bill type stuff. And then I have those big jobs that bring in these big swooping amount of money that allow me to kind of be able to do some of the extra stuff and put a lot of money away for savings or, save up for a vacation or whatever. So the small jobs is what I say are kind of what pay the bills for me on a month-to-month basis. But then also having like some big jobs here and there that you can balance into your workflow. Because I know some people who only shoot, 2 or 3 big jobs a month at a max. And they get paid really well. But that's all they do. So if you go a month and you don't book any of those 2 to 3 big jobs, well, you haven't made any money that month. So that makes things a little difficult. So that's why I still take on small gigs to kind of help with that, just basic paying the bills, hitting that bare minimum number. But those big jobs is really where I kind of make my actual big money. All right, let's see what we got next. Do you think that the 1DX Mark II will drop in price? Believe the 1DX Mark II is the best camera for video and photos. I still love the 1DX Mark II. I know I've been kind of riding this Sony a7 III chain for a little bit because I love the camera. And I do think the 1DX Mark II is a phenomenal camera. Don't get me wrong by anything. I still own it because I do like it a lot. But it's just too big and bulky for a lot of things that I currently do. I needed something smaller, something more of a mirrorless. I mean, for a lot of my photography stuff, it's very, very, very run and gun. And the 1DX Mark II is just not a very run and gun friendly camera. Now, with that being said, do I think the price will drop on it? I don't think so. Canon is very much like Apple in a lot of ways, where they kind of stick to their guns about a lot of things that don't really make sense. And so, no, I don't see the price of the 1DX Mark II going down from a brand new retail standpoint until they get ready to release a new one. But I will say I think the price of used ones are starting to go down because I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out, like, if they want to keep their 1DX Mark II, and with Sony having such good deals and cameras at such high, specs for the price, it makes it where a lot of people are trying to sell their 1DX Mark IIs. Once the market gets flooded with 1DX Mark IIs, the prices drop for used ones. So if you are in the market for a 1DX Mark II, I honestly tell a lot of people, go ahead and look for a used one. I'm sure you'll get a good deal on one, especially compared to brand new. And if you buy a used one, typically you can get yourself a nice little bundle, because the 1DX Mark II is it's not a cheap camera, but neither are the batteries, neither are the memory cards, neither are any of the accessories that you need for it. So if you can get yourself a nice bundle of a used 1DX Mark II, you're winning for sure. All right, let's see. Just got the notification to come on YouTube. Dope. What lighting do you recommend for video shots or shoots? I like Aperture. That's definitely the brand of choice. That's what this I got them backwards. This big light over here is an Aperture 120D. Aperture, in my opinion, hands down, one of the best lighting companies. I did a whole video of it on my channel, so definitely check that out. But Aperture is one of my favorites for sure. If you're balancing a full-time non-YouTube career and working to jump into YouTube, what's the best way to launch and gain subscribers? Okay, so the easiest way to launch and gain subscribers is consistency. Consistency is everything when it comes to YouTube. Like, hands down, it is everything. The more you post, the more they will share your stuff. And in the last month, I've been like posting dang near daily. and I have seen massive growth on my YouTube channel. It's absolutely blown me away with how much growth I've been able to achieve, but it's because I've been posting so consistently. Now, the flip side to that is if you can't post consistently, what I will tell you to do, and kind of a little trick that I personally know that other YouTubers, like really big YouTubers, do, is they will pre-shoot like a week's worth of videos and just sit on them and then start pumping out more content. And if they have a day where they can't post, or if they're supposed to post twice a week and they can't do that, well, then they will kind of release one of these videos that they pre-record. Or every time they go out to shoot a video, they shoot 2 or 3 videos to kind of make sure they stay ahead of their upload schedule. So that's something that you can do to make sure you are posting consistently. If you haven't posted anything yet and you're trying to get on YouTube but you want to post consistently, get yourself like a backlog of like 5 to 10 videos, so that way when you start releasing them, you can stay ahead of schedule. Now, the only hard part is if you post, like if you have a YouTube channel where you're talking about recent things, like on my channel, I talk about gear that's just come out. I have to basically, as soon as the gear comes out, I've got to have a video ready to go on that gear. And so that's the only time it's going to be a little difficult, but for the most part, you should be straight. All right, let's see. Hey, I get used to crop frame cameras. Do you think I should buy an A7 III? Thanks. I think the A7 III is an awesome camera, and if you want to shoot it in crop mode, you absolutely can. It does allow you to crop down to Super 35, so yeah, definitely go full frame. You won't regret it. But if you want to shoot crop, it gives you the option. It's kind of the best of both worlds for your specific situation. I have a gimbal, but I also find it convenient to shoot handheld sometimes. Do you have any tips for shooting handheld at regular 24 frames, no slow-mo, and gear you use, like rigs, etc.? I mean, obviously a gimbal is my favorite, like, stabilizer. It's surprising what you can do with just a tripod. If you're trying to shoot at 24 frames and you're trying to keep it as stable as possible, and you're shooting handheld, that's just going to be hard no matter what. Now, there are a couple cameras out there, like the Sonys, that have in-body stabilization built in. So that's something that you can definitely do to kind of help you out. But for the most part, handheld is just going to be a little shaky. But add it into your theme and make it part of your story, and you'll be good. Dope. All right, last question I'm going to take, and then I'm going to hop into actually how you get clients. Like, how do you actually book clients and find those clients who want to pay you to do work? Last question is tips on getting clients in events, wedding industry. I'm about to make a website and social media account. Okay, perfect segue. All right, so now let's really talk about how you get those clients. Like, how do I personally get clients? Like in the last video I did on this topic, I talked about how you want to go out there and find yourself, 1 to 2, possibly 3 really, really good clients. And like, how do you actually go find those people to want to work with you? Now, the very first thing you have to do if you want to have paying clients is you have to have amazing work that speaks for itself. Now, I know this can be kind of daunting or a little hard, and you're like, well, I don't know if my work is good enough or not. I'll tell you this. If someone is offered to pay you to do a job, you're in the right direction. You're headed in the right direction at that point. But you have to have work that is phenomenal. It has to look good, because the truth of the matter is that your work is what's really going to speak for you. You can go in there and you can try to sell them on why they need video or how good you are, or, all the little, just kind of like ego boosting things. You can say all those things about yourself, but at the end of the day, they're going to want to see the work. They're going to want to see how good you are. And if your work doesn't stand up to what you said, they're not going to hire you. They're not going to write the check. So the very first step is you have to have amazing work. If you have amazing work, getting the clients becomes like 10 times easier, because you let your work speak for itself. The question then becomes is, who is the right client and can they afford you? Now, this is something that you kind of have to ask yourself. As I said earlier, I do big jobs and I do some small jobs, but my small jobs are not like $100, $200 jobs. Like, I don't take those type of jobs because, one, I don't want to really work with those type of clients, but two, it's not worth my time because I know what I can get paid from other clients. So here's how I tell people to, go out and find those clients. One, sit down and really make a list of the ideal client for you. Now, this is going to vary across the board for everybody, but you have to ask yourself, what is the most ideal client you would like to work with? Is it someone in a certain industry, whether that is, a business owner, or is that client a real estate agent? Is that client a bride? Is that client, a restaurant owner? Whatever. Ask yourself, what is the most ideal client in the right field that you want to be a part of? Once you have that, then the next question is, how much will this client pay me? Because what you're doing here is you're basically narrowing down who you need to market yourself to and how many potential clients there are in what you want to do. And then from there, you can decide how to attack it. So for example, this isn't something that I do it every now and again, but it's not my exact field, but concerts. Concerts is something that tons of videographers want to shoot. I mean, they're fun. It's like a party. You get paid. You normally get free drinks. Like, it's awesome. Why not, right? And I've shot a couple of them myself. But some people think they want to shoot concerts until they think about the ideal client. For example, people who shoot concerts, unless they are with a really big name artist and they're really close with that artist, they normally don't get paid a whole lot, which in most people's situation, when their ideal client pays them well. The next thing is, who is this client? Is this client a DJ? Is this client a rapper? Is this client, in a rock band, whatever? Like, all these little details matter because you may say you want to go on tour, you want to shoot concerts, but what if you hate the music of the artist that ends up deciding to hire you? Will you enjoy that job? Is it worth it at that point? So really narrowing down who the ideal client is for you and how much they're going to pay you. And then ask yourself from there, what is the workload going to look like? Like, is this person going to keep me on for, a year, 2 years indefinitely? Or do you want to have multiple clients that give you more flexibility that allow you to shoot for all different types of things? For example, I personally don't want to ever work, at least right now, my ideal client does not hire me full time. Because I like shooting for different people. I like being able to shoot all different types of things for different people and never being locked into one person. So anyone who's looking for a full-time videographer, it's going to be very hard for them to hire me because that's not the ideal client for me. So that's why I'm saying you have to ask yourself, what is the most ideal client for you? Is it someone who wants a full-time videographer? Because if they are, then you have to find someone who can afford a full-time videographer and then market yourself to them. So once you have great work and once you know who your ideal client is, now how do you get them? How do you actually go in and talk to them and figure out how you're going to actually work with them? So here's how you do it. One, you have to do tons of research on this client and make a list. Make a list as long as you possibly can, knowing that most of them are going to say no. Knowing that most of them are maybe never respond to you. But from there, once you have this list, you literally have to go down the list one at a time from the best client to the worst client on that list. Hopefully they're all good. But going down that list and figuring out how to communicate with them. Some clients, you can just walk in the door. Like, for example, let's take a real estate agent. Real estate agents are open to the public. They're used to having people come into their office. They're used to being cold called. They're used to having someone approach them that they don't know. In that type of a situation, you can go after them. Walk right in the office and say, hey, I'm a videographer, photographer. I love to do some real estate work for you. Here's my portfolio, that body of work that's really good. Show it to them. Let them know why you think you can help them. And boom, now you've got business. But let's take, a restaurant owner. Well, most restaurant owners don't actually stay at their restaurant. They're not there very often. However, you could go into the restaurant and ask, hey, is the owner available? And typically they may say no. And you say, oh, well, does he have a business card? I'd really like to speak with him about doing some future business. Now you have a way to communicate with them, because they may give you their phone number, they may give you their email address on that business card. So now you have a way to actually reach out to that ideal client. That's kind of what you have to kind of get in the habit of doing. You have to figure out, once you know who your ideal client is, how to actually get in contact with them. Once you get in contact with them, now you let your work speak for itself, so that they say, okay, this guy or gal is good at what they do. They know how to work a camera. They know how to use it. They can create some awesome content. Now here comes the next step to that. So once you have good work, you know who your ideal client is, you now can get in front of them. The biggest thing that you're going to have to do to win over that client is explain to them what you can do to make their business, their life, or whatever they need happen. So if it's a real estate agent, you need to know how you can help them sell them more homes, or help them sell their homes faster, or help them, or if it's any other type of business, it's how to help them get more business, how to actually help them grow, how to help them do something that they currently are unable to do. And by you stepping in, you are now making their life a whole lot easier. So that's one of the things that is really beneficial, that you have to be able to offer them when you come with that sales pitch. If you can't do those things, they may say, you have really good work, but I don't really know how I would use you. Or they may say, I like your stuff, can I have your business card? And now it's on them to come up with an idea of how to use you. But if you can give them that idea up front, now you have a better chance at landing those clients. So that's kind of how you can go about getting some new clients and turning it into a full-on business. Now, when it comes to how do you make a living out of this, and how do you actually grow, and how do you actually make money, and how do you live your life as a creator, well, this becomes a life kind of decision. You have to ask yourself, again, going back to that first number, how much do you need to make in order to do this professionally? Because this is going to be a goal for you. You have to set a goal knowing exactly how much money you need to be making, knowing exactly, how many clients you need to have. So that way, when that number comes and you have those clients, you can then quit your full-time job and do this professionally. Now, again, I strongly recommend having at least 3 months of savings worth of financials kind of in the bank, just in case, because in this business, you're going to have, lulls. It's going to be busy, or it's going to be slow, but it's important to have some money saved up. So that way, when things get hard, or you're not booking enough gigs, you don't get scared and just go run and grab a job that you really don't want, just so you can make ends meet. Because this business is kind of like a snowball. And one of those things with the snowball is, once it's rolling, it picks up and things get better and better. But every so often, if you decide that, whoa, it's not going fast enough, and you figure out a way to stop business, you kind of have to start all over again, rebuilding up your client list and kind of starting to get new business again. And so it's like starting up another snowball from a smaller one. So you kind of have to start all over, which kind of can suck. So make sure that you kind of do your homework ahead of time, kind of have that money saved away. And these are just real world tips that I personally use and that help my business and that I've been able to kind of thrive off of using. But if you guys have any additional questions to this, I'm going to get ready to hop back in the comments real quick and answer any additional questions you have. I know somebody was asking questions about insurance and some other stuff like that. So start leaving me some more comments in the chat, so that way I can know kind of where to keep going. Because I just kind of want to make sure that you guys get all the information y'all need out of this. So let me go ahead and hop in here real quick. And it says, I saw this question from Arlissa, and I want to know too, how do you get your clients on retainer? Okay, so I answered that question already. Perfect. Let me make sure I just didn't miss any additional questions in the comments. All right. Cool. Okay, so I think those are all the questions that you guys have right now. if you guys have any additional questions on how to grow your business, let me know. Or if you have any questions about really anything, even if it's outside of like how to make a living, if it's about gear or whatever, I'm gonna just kind of have like a quick little open session of Q&A. I'll answer up these questions, and then we'll call this a live stream. I know it wasn't the smoothest live stream. I'm not even sure what the quality looks like. I'm looking at my playback screen, and it's looking pretty crappy. So I apologize for the quality of the live stream. But let's take a look at what we got going on here. APS-C or full frame. Personally, I recommend full frame. You get more light, you get a wider frame of view, more lens options, in my opinion. But personally, I just like the look of full frame, hands down. Where do you get your music from? Okay, so that is a super exciting thing that's going to be coming up. I haven't made the video about it yet, but you can rest assured I just actually started up a new partnership with someone really recently. I don't know if I can really say yet, but I will do an entire video on music, where I get it from, who the new partner is, and I think you guys are really gonna like it because there's gonna be some awesome stuff for you guys too. How many videos you had in your portfolio when you started? So when it came to my portfolio, literally the way I always did it was I felt like you only need one solid video. In order to get business, you need one solid video. Like one video that is amazing above all other videos, because that will get you all the rest of the videos. So what I would do is, like, for example, when I wanted to get into real estate, I figured out a way to shoot a video. And in my situation, I traded my video service for being able to stay in a nice little rental house. But you just need one good video. Now, I look back on that video now and I think, wow, that video was terrible. But needless to say, if you can have one really good video and you're going to take that video to go shop it out for more clients, you just need one to show them how good you are. What video lenses do you think I should be using with the GH4? Lens selection is always based on story, and it's based on, what you're doing. But with the GH4, I mean, that's a super or micro four thirds lens mount, so you got to go with something wide. I'm not a huge fan of micro four thirds because of that reason, because it's so cropped in. It's hard to get a good wide shot. Looks pretty good, to be honest. Oh, good. Okay. Well, maybe it just looks bad on my side. What's a good platform for your portfolio? Honestly, you could use Instagram. You could use, you could build a website. I mean, obviously, I'm not sponsored by any website companies, but build a website. Or you could use YouTube or Vimeo, because in today's digital world, when you want to send somebody your work to kind of show them how good you are, well, you're going to send them a link. And whether that link is to your website or it's to your Vimeo page or it's to an exact video on Vimeo, they just need to be able to see how good you are and how good your work is. And so that's what you're going to want to do. But don't overthink like you need a full-on website, portfolio, all that kind of crazy stuff. If you're just getting started, like, be upfront and honest with them and say, hey, I'm just getting started. Here's one of the videos that I've done. I'd love to do some work for you if you have some work options for me. And send them the Vimeo link. Send them the YouTube link. Personally, I prefer Vimeo. It's a little more professional. But I know Vimeo costs money now, which is like the dumbest thing ever. But that's kind of my recommendation. Let's see. Tried out the Ronin S. Oh, yeah. I've made videos on the Ronin S. I've compared it to the Crane 2. So yeah, definitely check out those videos on my channel. The Ronin S is my go-to gimbal, hands down. The one I take on, if I'm taking a gimbal, I'm probably taking the Ronin S for sure. Let's see. Do you use custom transitions or templates? Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I'm not one of those people who's a purist that says, oh, you can't use transitions, you can't buy templates, you can't buy plugins. Buy it. Make your life a whole lot easier. I mean, when it comes to making money at this business, it's a time for money deal. If you are spending an extra 4 hours on an edit and you're not getting paid hourly for the edits, then you're just losing money for every additional hour you have to put into it. If you can buy transitions and templates to make things easier, then absolutely I would do that. Man, these comments are like really coming through now. You guys got active on here. Do you think travel films making has already so many creators? Is it still wise to become one? Okay, so Renz, so when it comes to making travel films, there's a really bad stigma that like all these big travel vloggers and stuff, like all they do is make travel films on YouTube, and that's how they make their living, and that's how they're able to travel the world. For some of them that is very true, but for most of them, they're just traveling kind of on their own dime, but they're getting work in those countries, whether that's from tourist boards or from, just like working at a local spot here in your own home city. They're just reaching out and getting work in those cities that they know they're going to be traveling to. And then they make an awesome video for YouTube. So I don't think that it's too late to get into the travel film world. Just know that, like, in most situations, they're just reaching out to companies that are in a certain city that they know they want to or are going to be traveling to. And then they put out videos that make it look like they're just constantly traveling nonstop and that's their life. So just kind of keep that in mind. They are still working, and they're doing a lot of work that they probably never post on their Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube or anywhere else, because it's strictly for that client. But just kind of keep that in mind when you decide you want to be a travel filmmaker. Are you excited about the Sony a7S III? Think you'll upgrade? Yes. Honestly, the whole reason why I bought the a7 III was to really get into the Sony world. And then when the S3 comes out, I plan on getting it. And in all honesty, I was hoping I would see the a7S III at Photokina, but it didn't come out. And so now I know it's not coming out until like probably midway next year. So with that, I decided go ahead and pull the trigger, go ahead and get the a7 III. It's worth having for, 4 or 5 months before the S comes out, which is my thought on hopefully when it'll come out. But I do know that Sony will release their crop, probably the replacement to the a6500, before they'll replace the a7S camera. What up, Omar? Appreciate you hopping in here. I agree. I wish I knew better when I bought it. Yeah, I know. Just got mine. Loving it. Is it still worth it to get a Ronin M or MX? I don't think so, honestly. These pistol grip gimbals are so good. Now, if you just love that dual handle setup and you want that pretty much nonstop, then yeah, go ahead. Pick up a Ronin M. Pick up one used if you can. I'm a big component, preacher of buying used gear. I love buying used gear. You can get a great deal on it, especially if it's something that you're gonna beat up, because in a lot of situations, like, your gear is overly babied and you don't get really risky with it, but when you buy used gear, you don't really care as much. So that's kind of my thought on it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to get a Ronin M, I don't think it's a bad time to get one at all. Random question. What are you using to live stream? So right now I'm live streaming on the a7 III. I've got this software called OBS, and that's going into this little black magic box thing that translates HDMI into, makes my computer basically see my camera as the actual web camera. So I noticed that it's kind of going in and out of focus, and it's because I'm using this new Tamron. I have no settings set up. Like 5 seconds ago, or 5 seconds before I started this whole thing, I had started the live stream on the 1DX, and I kept having issues, so I switched over to the Sony. Didn't change any settings just so I could go live, but it seems to be working for the most part. I've learned that when it comes to creating content, that it's better to have content than not have content, if that means there's a mistake in the middle. So if I don't have the perfect settings, but I do capture the content and it's good, like the meat of it's really good, then you just gotta let it rock. Which is why I posted a video this week earlier where the framing was absolutely god-awful terrible, and that was because my monitor wasn't charged. But I decided, what the heck, go put the video out, see what happens. Let's see. Da 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 da. What are the big differences in the 24 to 70 f2.8 and f4? The aperture. The f2.8 is going to be better at low light. That's pretty much it. The f4 might be image stabilized though. You're gonna have to double check on that one. I'm not sure. Kevin Ross up in the building. I've actually seen you in here before. Wanted to say I plan on using the approach to trade my video and photography services in return to be able to just place my family to stay while on vacation, just to build part of my portfolio. I'm currently being paid for services, but real estate, Airbnb, VRBO is a new space, and I'd like to explore it. Hands down, man, go after it. Attack it. It's absolutely a great space to be in. Everybody needs professional photography these days, and everybody appreciates it, which is really nice. So if you can trade them something that, you know, that's worth it to them and worth it to you, hands down, go for it, man. A7 R3, but really waiting on the S3 sold on Sony. Yep, I've been pretty sold on Sony here. The Ronin M stands are mad annoying. That's why I got the Ronin S. Yeah, having to carry around that little balancing stand for the Ronin M absolutely sucks. Don't get it twisted. That stand sucks. The nice thing about these pistol grip gimbals is that they do have a little tripod on them that you can kind of set your camera down when you want to rest, which is really, really nice. Let's see. Thanks for the tips, by the way. Speaking of used gear, how do you know if used gear is good to buy? What are the things that you check? So I buy most of my used gear off eBay because eBay has like a return guarantee kind of thing. So if like there's an issue with the gear or it's not, you know, it's not quoted the right way, if it doesn't work, that you'll always get your money back. So I like buying my stuff off eBay. But if I'm looking in person, you just want to make sure that there's no, you know, scratches or any dust, especially on lenses and stuff. Camera bodies, I almost always buy brand new, just because you never know how people took care of their camera bodies, especially their sensors. Now with mirrorless cameras, you can actually look at the sensors right on and see what's going on. You can with DSLRs too, but I always want to make sure that for the most part it is still working. Never look for deals that are too good to be true, because they typically are. And then always read all the descriptions, because sometimes they will have these long descriptions saying all the good things about the camera, blah, 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 blah. And then somewhere in the middle, towards the bottom, it'll say what's wrong with it, but it's a really short sentence. So make sure you read the full description. You'll be so happy that you did. Let's say, you think the A7 III will be discounted soon? I like to get one, but can't afford to drop $2K on it. I mean, we've got Black Friday right around the corner. Christmas and the holidays are here, so yeah, I definitely think we'll see some sales soon. I don't know if we'll see sales on the A7 III itself, but you might see some bundles for it where it's the same $2,000 price, but they'll throw in like a memory card and a bag, or it might be $2,200 and they'll throw in like a $500 lens, something like that. I definitely think we'll see somewhere that has a bundle for the A7 III because it is so popular right now. Plus, I think Sony wants to kind of put the stake in all the other camera manufacturers out right now. And that'd be the best way to do it. Who inspires you as another creator? Like you salivate over their work. I mean, I think I'm inspired by a lot of different creators. I try not to honestly like overly indulge myself in too many creators, because I found that when I used to do that, my work started to just naturally start to look like their work. So I try not to watch too many creators, but I will say that you know, people like, I like really sick editing, so I like people like Matt Como. He's really good. I don't really look at like, you know, just typical YouTubers. But one of the YouTubers who I really like, who's actually not even he is a filmmaker. He's a filmmaker. Is Marcus Brownlee with MKBHD, the tech channel. I mean, the stuff that he does with product shots are just gorgeous. Now, granted, yeah, he's shooting on a Red and a bunch of other stuff, and he's got tons of money and like a robot camera. But when it comes to just pure product cinematography, in my opinion, his videos are one of the best. Monitor recommendations. I don't really care about monitors, honestly. I use a MacBook Pro Retina display with the touch bar. So, I mean, I just have two cheap little 1080p monitors for just looking at the screen. But when I start color grading, I just use the monitor on there. So, sorry, that doesn't really help you. One thing that is stopping me from doing video full time and from me leaving my regular job is health benefits. Was it hard for you to find good health care? Yes. Healthcare was the main reason that I stayed at my full-time job as long as I did. Some of you guys don't know this because I don't really put it out there, but I do have kids. And so, like, when I was getting ready to leave my job and kind of pursue this thing, my wife was pregnant. And so that definitely made it hard to make that switch. And healthcare is a big one. Now, I know healthcare is totally different for everyone, and it's based on how much money you make and, you know, if you can get with different groups. I don't think I'm the best person to explain it because, honestly, my wife actually handles all of our healthcare stuff. But healthcare is important. And if that's a reason why you're staying at your job, I would just say start figuring out, like when we talk about that number that you need to have in order to quit your job, make sure you add in healthcare in there. And so now you can actually go and start doing research on that and figuring out how much money you would need to get your own personal healthcare, and make sure that number is added into that whole number to know what you need to quit. Have you experienced a front focus issue on the Sony A7 III? I have an A7 III with a Tamron, and it seems to front focus in any mode, eye autofocus, spot, etc. I do notice that there's, I mean, I'm not like saying that there's a major issue. When I was doing some video tests in 4K, I noticed that front focusing thing because when I would talk with my hands, it would start to focus on my hands instead of my face. So that's an issue that I did notice, but that was actually with the 24-70 lens. So I think it may just be an issue depending on if you're using a monitor or not. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I haven't had any major issues. But I've been shooting this whole video on the A7 III with the Tamron. Obviously, I can't look at the screen because I'm trying to look at the camera when I'm talking to you guys. But let me know if you guys think this camera has been doing a decent job at focusing, because that exact setup that you say you use is what I'm using to shoot this video with right now. Is it good to have two separate YouTube accounts, one personal and one business, or just one account? I like having just one account, and it's really just so that way you can focus on growing one. Now, maybe once one account is grown and you have like a reasonable following on it, then you can definitely decide to launch a second account. But, I mean, if you have a decent following on YouTube and like the people are enjoying your work, then I say just rock with one account and just post, you know, kind of what you want on it. But when you're first starting out on YouTube, you should definitely niche down. Because it makes it easier for YouTube to recommend your videos to certain people. So, hope that helps out. Hi from New York. Great videos you're doing. Appreciate that. I actually want to go to New York very soon. I'm going to try to plan that trip. How did you get your start in video? Was it like getting clients work before you had a portfolio built up? It's impossible. I mean, I guess I'll try to wrap up this live stream with this. If you are trying to get work and you don't have a portfolio, it's going to be darn near impossible. So what you have to do is go make a portfolio for free or for trade. So whatever that means, if let's say you want to get into commercials, shoot a commercial for like just a product that you have laying around. Like, for example, I've got this little hard drive right here. If you want to start making product commercials, then take something at your house and make your own commercial using whatever you have around you. So now you have a video for your portfolio. If I made a commercial for this here, nobody would know if I was hired by Samsung or not when I go to shop it out. I just have a video that shows what I can do. So that's something that I would recommend, is if you are trying to get into the world of it, you have to, absolutely have to, just go out and shoot and just make a video that you can then shop out to new clients. My views have tanked recently. My views have tanked after coming back from a hiatus. How do you get out of the slump? The content I made before was quite successful, but now it doesn't even get close or go close. I would say you got to just post a lot. I did the same thing. I took like a month off of YouTube, and when I posted my first video, it got like maybe a couple hundred views. But you just got to keep posting consistently until YouTube, hey, I'm back at it. Hey, I'm still here. And they'll start pushing your videos back out again. So like literally, like I will post every day for a week to get myself kind of back going. Like when I took this last break, I've been posting almost every day for a month. I took the weekends off, but that's definitely how you do it. People would definitely know if it wasn't a real Samsung ad. Are you paid by Samsung? Okay, yeah, I know that looked really bad. No, I'm not paid by Samsung. I wish I was though. But what I'm saying is, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that you have to make a video to show what you can do. So just do that. You guys know what I'm trying to say. All right, let's go ahead and finish this off. This message has been held for review. Why? Let's see. Have you tried the EOS Pro colors for Sony? I've actually been testing that actually very recently. I'm working on a video. I think I talked about it in my last live stream. I'm working on a video on how to get Canon color out of Sony. The EOS Pro thing, someone actually sent that over to me. So I appreciate them. K-Dot, you the real one. But I will say that I'm not a big fan of the EOS HD or the EOS Pro color or whatever. I'm not a fan of it. I'm actually tweaking it to make it work for the A7 III. From what I understand, it wasn't designed for the A7 III. It was designed for older Sony cameras, but I'm tweaking it to come up with my own picture profile that I think will work well for you guys, and I'm really close to dialing it in. I got a couple things I got to do with the greens, but when I'm done, I'll have an awesome color profile for all you A7 III shooters. I've started getting close to daily through, but thanks for the advice. Keep up your content. Awesome. Do you put all your videos in YouTube, even the worst, or just the good ones? I think it depends on what you're using YouTube for. I mean, I've released some videos on YouTube that have good content, but how it looks or how it sounds maybe isn't the same or doesn't sound as good as it could be. And because I just want to give you guys as much knowledge as I can, I will still put those videos out. Now, if you're using YouTube as your portfolio and you're saying this is my work as a filmmaker, as a videographer, and you want to send that out to your clients, then yeah, only put up your absolute best stuff. But you guys will notice, like on my YouTube channel, I don't actually post my work. I post all my work on my Vimeo page. And I try to only upload the best of the best and kind of the work that I'm most proud of, or work that I know I need to send to future potential clients that they can then see kind of my caliber of work and how I can do work for them. All right, so last couple questions, and then we're going to hop off of here because this live stream has actually been going for almost an hour, which is way longer than I thought it was going to be. But let's grab these last two questions. Which system is the easiest to import or to impress clients? Does the full frame look give you a massive advantage over APS-C or Micro Four Thirds? No, it's a preference. It's my own personal eye and preference that I like full frame. As far as the clients go, 90% of them will not be able to tell the difference. 5% of them might be able to tell the difference and won't care. The other 5% will actually know and may have a preference, and typically they'll talk to you about it before the actual job starts. But that goes to say that 95% of clients aren't going to know if it's full frame, Micro Four Thirds, or APS-C. For me, it's more about what I can get out of the camera and what type of vision I have that makes me want to go full frame. Totally personal. But clients really don't care. Can you do a live event on location as a shoot in the future? Possibly, yeah, hands down. I mean, I'm not sure where everyone's located. I'm definitely planning on trying to do something in Houston very, very soon. My birthday is actually at the end of the month, so I'm thinking about maybe doing something for my birthday, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, let me grab these last ones. Love your eyebrow. That's funny. I mean, like, I don't actually have a birthmark, so this is like what I call my birthmark. But yeah, that's just my eyebrow. I can't do anything about it. Oh, thanks for the super chat, homie. I appreciate it, Hayden. think you hopped in last week too, and I appreciate the super chat every time, man. You're the real one. How much time do you use to post? How much time do you use in post compared with shooting? It depends on the project, but typically I'm putting in, I'll probably say if my video shoot is like, if I'm doing like an 8-hour day of shooting, like a full day of shooting, I'm probably spending about 2 days of editing. So it's probably a 2-to-1 ratio. However many hours it takes me to shoot, normally how many hours, at least 2 times that, that it takes me to actually edit. But I edit pretty quickly. But it really does depend on the project. Some projects just require more editing, more creativity. Sometimes I'm doing stuff in After Effects, so it really does depend on the project. But on average, it's about a 2-to-1 ratio. 2 hours of shooting normally equals about 4 hours of editing, and that's kind of what I tell myself and kind of how I price out my quotas to people. Man, questions keep coming through. I want to kind of get to these, but I'm gonna try to finish this last one. How do you plan your shoots? Actually, I just started using a new app called ShotLister. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but actually the owner of ShotLister reached out to me and asked me if I wanted this free app. It's not free, but he asked me if I wanted one to test it out and to possibly talk about it on my channel. So we'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna actually do a video on it or not, because I'm still figuring it out. But he did say that he wanted to do a giveaway, so kind of be on the lookout, because I will be doing a giveaway on that app for a couple of them, not just one, but a couple of them for you guys really soon. So I might just do the video just so I can give you guys a free app that I think is actually pretty cool. I'm still figuring out how exactly to plan out all my shoots using it, but before I did that, I literally just wrote stuff down on a sheet of paper, kind of writing out a shot list. I really like storyboards because I'm a very visual person. And this app actually allows you to do storyboards too, which is really cool. So I like storyboards. That's the way I do it, and kind of writing little notes next to it, because it's like making a comic book, which is like super basic and super simple. But that's what works for me. But there you have it, guys. I hope this video was helpful. I know it was like super jam-packed with a lot of technical stuff. I'm sorry for how the live stream went to get us started, but it's up and running now. If you guys are watching this back on the playback and you watched it all the way through the end, this video was a little bit more informative. So I hope that answered your questions. I think I got to everyone's questions down in the comments, but thanks again so much for checking out this video. If you guys have any additional questions and you're watching this on the playback, go ahead and leave those in the comments, or you can hit me up on Instagram. You can always DM me. I'll answer any questions you guys have for me there. But thanks again so much, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video, which will most likely drop on Monday. Peace.